types of vaccines and how do they work. Part 1. Vaccines given by any route. They contain live or inactivated microbes. They act as antigen. This antigen is then recognized by the immune system, resulting in immune response. So, vaccines provide immunity to the individuals before they acquire disease. This is the basic mechanism. Now let us see types of vaccines. Vaccines may be live attenuated, that is live but weakened virus or bacteria. Virus example is measles, mumps, rubella or varicella vaccine. Bacteria example is BCG vaccine, or they can be inactivated vaccines. These inactivated vaccines may contain whole killed virus or bacteria or only fraction of virus or bacteria. This fraction can be a protein, polysaccharide, virus-like particle. They are like viruses but they do not contain genetic material, or they may contain only genetic material, that is DNA or RNA vaccine. Whole killed virus example is inactivated polio. Bacteria example is whole cell pertussis vaccine. Protein subunit example is hepatitis B. Toxide, that is inactivated toxin example is tetanus. These polysaccharide vaccines, they are not as immunogenic as protein, so they can be made more immunogenic by conjugating with a protein. Example is pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, or they can be pure polysaccharide vaccines also. Virus-like particle example is human papilloma virus vaccine. RNA example is COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. Here mRNA of COVID-19 is incorporated into a carrier molecule. It's delivered using a carrier molecule, and then genetic information present on this mRNA is then used by the host cells to produce protein. This protein in turn acts as antigen. In COVID-19 viral vector vaccine, adenovirus is used as viral vector. Genetic sequence of COVID-19 is incorporated into adenovirus, and then host cells produce protein. These pure polysaccharide vaccines, they have different mechanism of action, so let's consider them under separate category. Example is pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine. So let us see how do inactivated vaccines work. At the site of injection, they trigger local inflammatory reaction mediated by the cells of innate immune system. Like dendritic cells, monocytes, neutrophils and natural killer cells. Adjuvants in the inactivated vaccines, they enhance the activity of the innate immune system, thereby resulting in better immune response. And then antigen in the vaccine activates dendritic cells at the site of injection. Well vascularized muscle contains numerous dendritic cells. So inactivated vaccines, they are usually given as intramuscular injections. At the same time, dermis also contains abundant dendritic cells. So for intradermal injection, only fraction of dose is required. Poorly vascularized subcutaneous fat contains very few dendritic cells. So vaccines are not usually given in the gluteal region where there is excess subcutaneous fat with very few dendritic cells, resulting in poor immune response. This is especially important for important vaccines like rabies and hepatitis B. And also adjuvants, if present in the inactivated vaccines, they can cause excess inflammatory reaction if given subcutaneously. So inactivated vaccines are usually given as IM injections. And then these antigen bearing activated dendritic cells then migrate through lymphatics to unilateral and local lymph node. For example, if injection is given in the thigh, only inguinal lymph node, in the deltoid only axillary lymph node is activated. That's why multiple inactivated vaccines can be given at separate sites without immunological interference. So what happens inside the lymph node? This is germinal center. Activated dendritic cells then activate follicular T helper cells, which in turn cause proliferation of B cells. Proportion of B cells become plasma cells. These plasma cells then produce antibodies by 2 weeks. But these antibodies, they wane with time. Few plasma cells migrate to bone marrow. Proportion of B cells become mammary B cells. They acquire antigen specificity by a process called affinity maturation. This process takes about 4 to 6 months. These mammary B cells, they do not produce antibodies, but they migrate to spleen and lymph node and they remain there. This GC reaction, it goes on for about 3 to 6 weeks before it self-terminates. That's why priming doses of vaccines are usually given 4 weeks apart to avoid interference of GC reaction. And also booster dose is given usually 6 months after last priming dose. This period allows completion of affinity maturation so that memory cells will be ready. In addition to all these, antigen also directly activates the B cells without the help of dendritic cells. So these memory B cells are there in spleen and lymph node. When there is re-exposure to antigen, either as a result of booster dose of vaccine or as a result of natural infection, these memory B cells, they are converted to plasma cells. The plasma cells produce antibodies. These antibodies are rapidly produced. They are highly specific IgG antibodies. Time taken is usually 4 to 7 days. So let's see one example. Diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus vaccine. In developing countries, as per WHO schedule, priming doses are given usually at 6, 10, 14 weeks of age. So as we have already seen, that's a gap of 4 weeks between priming doses to avoid interference of GC reaction of previous dose. Why 3 priming doses? This is due to immaturity of the immune system in this young age. And then first booster is given at 15 to 18 months. This is because, as we have already seen, affinity maturation takes about 4 to 6 months. So booster dose is given at least 6 months after the priming dose, and also longer the interval between the priming dose and the booster dose and older the child, better will be the immune response. More boosters are also given. Let's take another example, hepatitis B vaccine. Here ideal schedule would be 0, 1 and 6 months. Here 0 and 1, they act as priming doses, and the 6th month dose acts as boosting dose. So why frequent boosters are given for diseases like diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, but not for vaccines like hepatitis B or hepatitis A? Because as we have already seen, memory cells take about 4 to 7 days to activate. For diseases like hepatitis B or hepatitis A, they have long incubation period. So when exposed to natural infection, there will be time for memory cells to activate. But for diseases like diphtheria or pertussis, for example, diphtheria has incubation period of about 2 to 5 days. There may not be time for memory cells to activate. So frequent boosters are given to maintain protective antibodies.